Well, you've heard so many things that have cracked your noodle by now.
Dave had,
We have to reassess everything we ever knew in light of what we knew intuitively and why we came. It's been a remarkable experience for me. My name's Jerry White. I'm an old swim coach. I had 17 kids at the United States Olympic trials. I coached most of the original Ironman triathletes on the West Coast in the first 2 or 3 years of Ironman. And my wife turned to me and said, she was my assistant coach, that $800 a month wasn't going to make it. I better get a real job. I went into physical therapy, became the head of research for the Shriners Hospital System, established for them the first human performance and gait analysis lab doing predictive surgery on orthopedics and neurology. Was an adjunct professor of biomechanics, physiology, and neuroanatomy for Eastern Washington University Medical School. And she looked at me and said, "Come home." What I'm going to show you as quickly as I possibly can is that sometimes it doesn't matter how, sometimes it doesn't matter why, but if it works and it's safe, go for it. You are going to find out about something in the next couple of minutes that is a breakthrough new science. There's 17,000 medical articles on this stuff called redox signaling. People have been referring to reductive and oxidative molecules all day. If I went into that, you would probably rebel. It's amazing information, but your brain can only take in what your butt can endure. So I want to do one observational thing real quickly. I want to find out after this much information how much you can retain. So I'd like to have you observe the person to your right, memorize a few things about them, look at them carefully, await their heads turned the wrong way. Now look and observe the person to your left, check out, see what's going on. I want you to sort of look at that face and compare with all the models in the world. And I'm going to give you a statistic. You've seen a lot of them today, but here's one that's very interesting. Found out over time that every third person is either incredibly beautiful or amazingly handsome. So if it wasn't one of them, it has to be you. What I'm going to do next is I was impressed with Dr. Howard's presentation yesterday. Weren't you all? And so I'm going to call upon Dr. Howard to tell you something that will save me 15 minutes of talking. And so if you would, could you explain what you just went through? So you got to come up to the video and all that sort of stuff.
So y'all get to get a live testimonial from me. A little background, I've had, I thought it was like a I'm telling an audience full of people this. Like, I thought it was like a sun rash, but I think it's some sort of hives. I don't know, I'm allergic to something, some kind of reaction. My body's rebelling, I don't know. But for a month, I've had huge, like you can't see them, like whelps and like bumps all over my hips and body, and they itch so bad. So I get to hang out at work and do this all the time, which is super attractive. And I've been to 3 different doctors. They don't know what it is. I've taken 2 steroid packs, 3 things of steroid cream, cortisone cream, essential oils. I mean, I've gone the natural route, the unnatural route, anything you can possibly think of, oatmeal baths. Nothing has helped. And I challenged him early, like 30 minutes ago, an hour ago, to let me try the cream. And so I tried it, and already like half the bumps are gone. And so I kept waiting. I'm just waiting for him to get done so I can buy some. So anyways, it's truly amazing. Honestly, nothing else has worked. And he didn't slip me a 20 before I came up here. But I do expect a good discount.
Would you tell them who it works on that I told you back there? It only works
on the most intelligent people. That's right. Just saying. So you guys should all try it and test your intelligence.
Okay, I'm going to do another little thing because rather than what has been astounding to me is the amount of science that you've all put into proving what you have. I'm going to go backwards for a second. And I'm going to have you be the arbiters and figure out what is just about to happen. I want you to take your immense backgrounds and I want you to tell me what is happening. In fact, some have probably answered the question several times today. So I would like to, let's see, Abby, can I borrow you? You've been sitting back there just so capably for all this time, and I can read your name tag from here, so you get the volunteer. And so would you come up for just a second? What I'm going to show you is something that, as in my coaching career, I found a very, very interesting change over the last 40 years. I'm going to test his flexibility. And then we're going to test it a couple of times, and we're going to measure a component of his flexibility, and then we're going to see if we can change his flexibility. So what was your sport?
Martial arts mostly, tennis, basketball.
Okay, martial arts, tennis, basketball, just all the stuff that attracted girls. So watch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do something we used to do with swimmers and baseball pitchers, and that is to hold your arms out to the side like you're being crucified. I'll stand behind, I'll pull his arms back, and we'll find the point we call restriction 1, R1 in physical therapy. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, you notice that? Yeah. So let's get a measure on it. Here's what was different 40 years ago. It's taped to the thing so we can't take it off. That's pretty great. But here's what's different than 40 years ago. If I did that 3 times, he would improve every time 40 years ago. Today you don't. Figure that one out. In fact, you'll get worse, generally. Let's try it again. Feel its tension. Yep. Memorize how much that feels like. That's 28 inches. Okay. So he was 28 inches, and he knows what his perceived exertion was. Now what I'm going to do is going to affect the communication in his system in a way that's going to boggle your head. Your system, your body communicates with a system called redox signaling in a very, very interesting way. And I'm not going to try to answer the questions for you unless you talk to me at lunch, because I know you all want to get there. But I want your answers in your own minds of what's going to happen. I want you to take some of this, which is a concentrated extract of modified salt water. The salt water is broken down to sodium, chloride, hydrogen, and oxygen, and added with the nitrogen in the air, rebuilt back into a set of balanced, reductive, and oxidative molecules that you make in the Krebs cycle as a secondary byproduct. And when we add it back to the body, your body then somehow uses it for stuff. So we're going to look to see if we can find a stuff here. Put it on your finger. Apply it to the back of your neck. All right, there's one. So I'm just having it stick it somewhere. The more I had studied this, the more you could probably put it on between his first and second toe, or behind his ear, or right on the back of it. Here, let me give you one other thing while I'm having him do this. I'm going to just have you do it right here and right here. Yeah. Now, because some stuff is more important than others, does anybody know why women do this all the time when their husband's around? Anybody know what that is? Yeah. You roll their eyes like that. Because all the rules of the universe are written on the back of their eyelids. So they're just checking it out. What did you screw up that we would never figure out? So what I'm going to do is to test him after that application and see if we get a change in his flexibility. Does anyone remember the number? 28. Okay. You tell me when the exertion feels exactly the same as it did before.
Wow. Jeez. It's
right there?
Right around there, yeah. Wow. But it actually feels like much more, yeah.
What is it?
That's
We'll go there and make it easy on you.
7.
What just happened? That'll be a discussion for lunch. Okay, did you feel a change?
Yeah.
Well, it only works on the most intelligent people, right? Okay, thanks for that. Now, I need another volunteer, and so you've been sitting in the front all day. Can I borrow you? What I want to do is I want to find out if he uses a I want to look at his reflexes. And when you're using this in a diagnostic way, you can do some very interesting things if you have people with hyperreflexia and brain damage or problems with a bunch of stuff. We can talk about that stuff to add to the other stuff when we talk about stuff. Okay, so what I want you to do is I'm going to have him hold his arms out like this, parallel to the ground. And then what I'm going to do is to push up on his hands with the instruction, don't allow me to push up. And then you're just going to hold steady. And then we're going to look at what his body uses as a strategy to keep from falling over, okay? Arms out. 3, 2, 1, resist. You feel your toes go up?
Yeah.
Okay. He's chosen a reflex. He had the other option of choosing he has a single monosynaptic reflex that he uses for that strategy. Do you think with these years and this wisdom that he's one of the most intelligent people? Yeah. Now we have to determine that. So what I want you to do is to take this and put some on your finger, and you can apply it to anywhere where your skin's exposed above your collarbone. And what we're going to try to see is if he can actually process faster and come up with a complex of muscular activity that changes the outcome. 3, 2, 1, resist. There's the same force, double, 4 times, 8 times. Feel your abdominal muscles kick in?
Yeah.
The number of synapses that he had to go through in taking in the afferent information, processing it in the brain, coming up with a strategy, and adapting is staggering in the same amount of time it used to take him to do a single synaptic junction. What I've just introduced to you is a very simple way that we can make oral changes and changes topically to allow your system to wake up to a whole bunch of stuff you didn't even know you could do. The applications of this are staggering. I will give you this simple sort of wrap-up synopsis of what I'm talking about. When you have a single cell that eventually becomes you, I'll tell a little story. When I was teaching basic neurology, I was saying that we have this phenomenal input mechanism this is before we knew about epigenetics, that comes in through your nervous system. Sight, sound, taste, touch, hearing. You process that information. You adapt to the world in that way. And it comes from this magnificent set of interconnected cells that have synapses between them. And the study we're about to do is to see how biology can move and adapt and functionally show that. So one student raised his hand in the front of the row, and he'd only been in school for a short period of time, in medical school. And he said, "Prof, I just came from a microbiology class." And he said there was this little dude named Paramecium, a single-celled animal, cute little thing. And he said, but if I stuck a hot probe in the water, he hightailed it the other direction. How did he know that that was a noxious stimulus? How did he turn? How did he motate? How did he do all the things you just said? We saw him find food, ingest, digest, procreate, fight other bacteria. What is the nervous system for the cell? How does the cell adapt to a changing world? In large measure, the discovery of this new science called redox signaling is answering those questions, where it's measuring up to 5,000 mitochondria in every single one of your 75 trillion cells, monitoring it almost like the Department of Motor Vehicles samples the exhaust in your car and says, we're out of equilibrium, let's get back. So, thanks for taking a moment to take a look. All I've done is to make you curious, but at least you're not asleep. Live long and prosper.